What's up everybody, Anime X here, and in this video I will be doing another top 10 video that will be about My Hero Academia, since you guys liked my last video so much. I'll be ranking these guys based on their power, and if this does well, I can do another top 10 on My Hero Academia quirks. And if you like this type of content, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notifications. So, without further ado, let's get started. A quick disclaimer before I start ranking these characters is I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to start rewarding everyone who makes it to the end of the video by letting you guys play a part in which videos I do next. Because I will start having polls at the end of every video, and with this disclaimer out of the way, I think it's time to start ranking these My Hero Academia characters. So, at the number 10 spot we have Todoroki. The reason that Todoroki is placed here on this list is due to how well he can use his quirk, and how good his quirk is in general. Even though he hasn't had many years of experience as other pros have, his quirk is very powerful, or you could consider it two quirks, and he definitely uses it to its best potential. And it is mostly for his quirk and for how calm and reasonable and how accurate he is in a fight that he gets placed at number 10 at this spot. So at the number 9 spot we have Midoriya Izuku, and the reason I put Midoriya above Todoroki is the fact that both him and Todoroki were even until Midoriya unlocked that extra 3% of full cowling, which in my opinion makes a difference between Midoriya and Todoroki. It is because he can't use 100% of his power though, and because he hasn't completely mastered his fighting style yet, that he can't be placed any higher. And it is also due to his nervousness and how nervous he is when he fights and how indecisive he is at times. But it is also because of his smarts that he's able to make it on here with only 8% of his true power. At the number 8 spot we have Bakugo, and obviously the reason that Bakugo is placed higher than Midoriya is the fact that he beat him in the last fight that they had, even with Midoriya's enhanced full cowling and shoot style combo. Bakugo's knowledge of fighting and on how to use his quirk is extremely extensive. His agility and mobility in the air is also quite extensive, but it is due to his arrogance and hot-headedness that he does not always use the best strategy or any strategy at all, and that limits him to not being placed any higher on this list. It is also just due to the sheer amount of power or hacks like quirks that everybody else has on this list. So at the number 7 spot we have Azawa Sensei, and the reason that I placed Azawa so high on this list is due to how his quirk, which gives him the ability to take away other people's quirks, which is very valuable and a powerful ability in a world where 80% of the people rely on their quirks, and 80% of the people that are villains use their quirks and may not know how to fight without their quirks. Although he isn't extremely physical capable in any particular way, he is very good at hand-to-hand combat and being able to beat people in singular fights. Although we have seen that when fighting multiple people, he does struggle to fight them. This, in tangent with his raps, allow him to be extremely dangerous and versatile hero, but it is to his lack of abilities that he ranks only 7 at this list. Now, at the number 6 position, we have Dabi, and now Dabi has a pretty straightforward quirk with the smarts to back it up. His cremation quirk is similar to Endeavor or Todoroki's quirk, and the fact that they both use fire. But the main difference between those quirks and his cremation quirk is the fact that when he shoots his fire, he actually burns something and everything that his fire touches, which in turn makes his quirk a lot more useful when trying to incapacitate people, and is a lot more useful in terms of being a villain. The thing that holds him back from being higher on this list is his lack of physical ability and the fact that he can get overconfident at times. And it is also the fact that he's a pretty overconfident villain, and that is why Dabi cannot be placed any higher than number 6 on this top 10 list. Now, at the number 5 position we have Muscular, and Muscular also has a pretty straightforward quirk, and his character is pretty straightforward as well. His quirk obviously has to do something with his name, and he has the ability to produce more muscle mass and make his muscles protrude from his skin at will, which makes him extremely fast, strong, and durable. I would even go to say that his quirk is a lot easier to understand than Dabi's, but nonetheless, they're both very simple. Basically, he has a simple power-up quirk, which makes it straightforward and usable in many different situations. But as we've seen in the anime, Muscular isn't the smartest person and doesn't think anything through. And he also toys with his enemies, which leads to him getting beat up by Midoriya, albeit he was using more than 100% of his power. And it is due to these reasons that he can't be placed any higher on this list. Now, at the number 4 spot we have Endeavor, and the professional hero and father of Todoroki. For everyone that sees him at the number 4 spot and wonders why he isn't higher, it's not because he is weak by any means. In fact, he is regarded as the number 2 hero. It's just due to either statements or just how crazy strong the other people in this list are. When talking about Endeavor, it's pretty difficult to scale him because he doesn't have very many feats, and most of his power scaling comes from the lore of the series. And his quirk isn't a simple power-up quirk, so it doesn't necessarily have any strength or speed feats. The only feat that he does have is casually burning off a Nomu's face with his quirk, which would be extremely impressive if it was the same type of Nomu that All Might fought and took 300 punches to destroy. But it was not. It was a lesser Nomu, so I can't put him any higher on this list because of his lack of feats and, his lack of actually doing something in the series. But it is because of his lore in the series and him being able to burn off a Nomu's face like that, and just him being called the number 2 hero is why he can be placed right here. Now, at the 3rd spot on this list, we have Mirio, who is regarded as a hero being closest to number 1, even including pros. Now, I may get a lot of flack for putting Mirio higher than Endeavor, which is understandable, but this basically means that he is the most powerful hero, but since he's a student, he cannot be considered number 1 yet, which from the lore standpoint would put him even higher than Endeavor. If you don't understand this, I can go more into depth in the comment section down below, but Mirio is a very interesting character because you would think, due to him being closest to number 1, that he would have an amazing quirk, and you would be mistaken, because Mirio has the ability to phase through objects such as floor or walls or basically anything. And while that sounds fun, it comes with a huge drawback, that he's blind while doing this because light passes through him. He can't breathe because air passes through his lungs, and he can't feel anything because, he's passing through everything, but he has the feeling of falling infinitely through the walls. One of Mirio's best feats would be when he takes down all of Midoriya's class with ease, and although many pro heroes would be able to do this, Mirio does display this while he is a student at UA, which is extremely impressive in and of itself. But a reason that he can't place higher is partially because of his lack of feats, and partially just because of how crazy strong the number 2 and number 1 spot are on this list. Now, at the number 2 spot, we have All For One, the ultimate rival of the previous number 1 hero, All Might. And All For One is the only villain that could rival All Might's power, and is even the reason that All Might got the scar in his stomach, and is the reason that All Might lost his powers so quickly. In terms of quirks, All For One has many different quirks because he can just steal others' quirks, which leads him to being able to have multiple power-up and enhancement quirks, which, when casually throwing an attack, he can obliterate the remains of a city, which would take kilotons of force, and even then, it is stated that these attacks were casual and only meant to wear down All Might, but not meant to damage him too much. He obviously didn't win his fight, and on that note, I think it's time to go over the number 1 spot, and the only one that could beat All For One. At the number 1 spot, we obviously have All Might, but I did say that All Might in his prime is the one I would like to go with for this video. Now, when talking about All Might, you have to specify which version you are talking about because there are at least 3 canonical versions of him. First, there is him when he can only maintain his buff form for about 30 minutes to an hour. The next one would be when he can maintain it for about 3 hours a day, and the final one is when he's in his prime and could constantly stay in his buff form. When he fought All For One, he was in his weakest form with One For All power draining from his body, and yet he was still able to find a way to beat up All For One. This is because he pulled out more than 100% of his full power, but nonetheless, he was weakened and was able to beat All For One, which proves just how powerful he is. So you can only imagine how powerful he would be in his prime. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the exact power scaling of All Might because I'm saving it for a video that I'm working on, but it's going to rely heavily on my previous scaling in my How Powerful is midoriya video, which will be linked up top and down below right now. But All Might's attack potency could reach kilotons of force even in his weakest form, which just goes to show his extreme power. And you get to see the poll that will be in the top right hand corner right now. And if you like this style of content, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notifications so you can be alerted to all of my videos. And if you want me to do more My Hero Academia content, I'm going to need this video to get to 10 likes, and I want it to get to 100 views within the first 2 weeks. And I want you guys to say what topic in particular that you want me to cover, both in the poll and in the comment section down below. I now post content that briefly power scales people on Instagram, so if that's what you want to see, links to my social media will be down below. And as always, guys, this is Anime X, signing off.